As I told y'all earlier, my mother-in-law used to live with me. She lived with me for 20 years. And one of the good things about that was, you know, she was kind of a built-in babysitter, so she help keep our kids a lot. But also, she cooked some really good food. And one of the good things that she cooks was pork chops. So I'm going to make for you Portuguese pork chops. So come on into my kitchen and let's have some fun. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to salt, pepper, and put some garlic on each one of these. I'm going to put them in this pan here. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to put some salt and rub across here. And make sure you cover them pretty well. And then we're going to put a little pepper on each one. As you can see. Then I'm going to do garlic. Over here, and then we're going to rub all of this in on each one of them. Then we're going to flip sides and do the same thing. Now I've got to go stop and wash my hands. Okay, we flipped them over. I've washed my hands, so now we're putting more salt on them, some pepper. Putting that on there. I'm going to put more garlic powder. Just shake the garlic powder in there, and then we're going to continue to rub these in here. Rub it in real good so we got it on both sides, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. And now I'm going to move my little container over here. Put this out of the way. My little container here. And what we're going to do is we're going to place them in here. A single layer is possible. I have a lot of pork chops, so mine is going to be probably doubled up a little bit, and I may have to turn them, and I'll explain that in just a minute. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put about 4 cloves of garlic. So I got 4 cloves of garlic kind of just chopped up and put those in here. I'm going to put some bay leaves. I got about 4 or 5 bay leaves I'm going to stick in here. Then I have some Parmesan wine, some red table wine. So I have some red table wine that I'm going to pour over them, and it's splashing a little bit, so I got to be careful. What you would normally do is pour it over to cover. So I've got a thick layer here. So what I'm going to do now is add some water to this to get it above so it covers the pork chops totally. I'm going to let this marinate overnight. So this is going to set overnight, and then tomorrow we will cook them. So you'll see the results tomorrow. But right now we're going to marinate. Like I said, you want to cover them completely with the liquid. So you want your red wine, your red table wine, and your water to be there to cover it up. If you need water, to add water. If you've got a thin layer, you may not need to do that. So as you can see, I've covered my pork chops. Well, when I set it down, they'll be covered. But I've covered them up, and so they're smothered in the fluid of red wine and water. I used about 2 cups of red wine. You definitely probably need that. Now, like I said, if you have a single layer of pork chops, you just want to cover them. You may not have to add water. They're probably a little bit more flavorful. But anyway, you don't have to add water. That's good. If you do, to cover them, that's a good also. Or you could just use a lot of wine. Either way. But anyway, we'll, like I said, cook these tomorrow. Okay, my pork chops are ready, and I'm about to take them out of here and put them into my pan here, which I slightly sprayed some grease on here, so lightly greased pan for this process. Okay, I'm going to take them out now. Oh, they smell so good. The marinade smells so good after being there all night. So I'm going to just kind of do it with my hands. I started to use my fork here, but I think I'm going to use my hands and kind of place them on here nice and neatly. And as I do this, though, what we're going to do is go ahead and have our oven preheated to 400 degrees. So we have our oven preheated to 400 degrees. And we're going to cook them probably about 30 minutes and check them. My pork chops are pretty thick, so I'm going to check them about 30 minutes to see if they're done. And if not, I may have to cook them a few minutes more. Sometimes it takes 30 to 40 minutes depending on how many and the size of your pork chop. So anyway, we'll continue to do this process. I'm going to pop them in the oven and start cooking them, and I'll come back to you guys with a story in just a second, and I know you will enjoy it. Okay, today's story, I was going to tell you a little story about when I first moved to a town called Laverne, and to live there several years, but I bought a little house there, and it had a pretty good lot, but it had a beautiful backyard with a little tiny guest house that my mother-in-law could live in, and so that was very exciting. But beside it was this wonderful garden, you know, a good place to put a plot, but it was very weedy. I mean, it had a lot of weeds in it, and there was some other vegetation growing, a lot of different things. And one of the things I noticed was growing there was these elephant garlic. And so elephant garlic is huge. And so I decided I was going to till everything up. But first I had to cut everything down in the backyard and make it, you know, at least ground level before I started tilling. Well, I cut those things with a mower, and garlic smell went everywhere. I just have to tell you, the whole neighborhood smelled like garlic. I mean, you could go a half-mile radius and still smell garlic. So when they say I move in and stunk up the neighborhood, I kind of did, and it smelled badly. Okay, it took me about 40 minutes to cook mine because they're a little thicker, but I got them out of the oven. I'm going to take them up onto my platter here, and then I'm going to plate one. And I also made me some of my wonderful baked potatoes that, if you look back at those, the crispy baked potatoes, I'm going to have that with my pork chop. Anyway, we'll be back to plate this in just a sec. Okay, I plated this. Look at it. I've got my pork chop on here. I got a potato. I got some tomato, and I got a little bit of olives for me. And I actually am going to add a few more little things. I'm going to add some parm to the top of mine. I love Parmesan cheese. And I'm putting a little tomato and potato. Then I got some parsley that I'm going to sprinkle on here. Some beautiful parsley. So look at that, how awesome that is. Let me taste it. Get us a little bite here. Let's see if it tastes like my mother-in-law's. So good. You have to try this dish. The pork chop's phenomenal in the wine. Thank you for watching. And most of all, I appreciate all of you, all of my fans. It just makes it wonderful, and I love doing this. It's so much fun to me, but I'm so glad that you're enjoying it and enjoying my stories. Have a very blessed day and enjoy.